is a presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Black Hawk. We are Florida.
Last night in Miami, the second half started with a thud for the Fish. They try to bounce back tonight. Giants and Marlins. 3-game set. This would be game 2. This would be Saturday night at Marlins Park. And the Fish try to solve this 5-game losing streak against the guy that has tormented them for a long time, Tim Hudson, the entertainer on the mound, Henderson Alvarez. Hi, everybody. Rich Waltz, along with Tommy Hutton. I know it's just game 2 of the second half of the season, but you look at this Marlins ball club. This is not a must-win, but it's a very important ball game. The ball club needs a W.
Well, absolutely, and I think one of the keys is that they have an all-star going against the Giants. Well, on the other hand, the Giants have an all-star going against the Marlins, too.
And these two pitchers are very similar in style. Obviously, Hudson's been doing it a lot longer than Alvarez. Let's start with Alvarez.
One of the numbers on Henderson Alvarez that really stands out to me, that in his last 14 starts, the Marlins have gone 12-2. Now, he didn't fare well in New York last time out, but you know what? He was excited. He was an all-star. He was getting ready to go to that all-star game, but he feels his position. We always see him do so many things to help him win a game.
Our Chevron starters continue with a guy that has done it a long time against the Fish. 9 years in Atlanta. His first year as a Giant, Tim Hudson on the mound tonight.
Hard to believe that Tim Hudson, in his 16th Major League season, is 15 years older than Henderson Alvarez. He's won 212 games. Both of these guys, when they're on their game, have that heavy sink and will get a lot of ground ball outs. You saw the numbers for Hudson against the Marlins. He's also 3-0 against the Marlins here at Marlins Park.
One of the bright spots, maybe the bright spot of the ballgame last night for the Fish, Giancarlo Stanton hit his 22nd homer. And in Stanton fashion, it was a bomb. When we get back, we'll talk Stanton and home runs and the Marlins' second half. you go. Live shot from the Goodyear Blimp. Miami International just across the way from Marlins Park. Let's go out to center field. Carl Pavano, Craig Minervini.
All right, Rich, thank you very much. Good crowd here. Good ovation for a nice national anthem just played here at the ballpark. Boy, Giancarlo Stanton has crushed the National League West in his career. He's got a .690 slugging. Only McGuire's got a better one against the division. And you look from a visiting standpoint, last night did nothing to disappoint as he got off a little 76 at-bat plate appearance, home run drought.
And that home run was the third longest home run in Major League Baseball this year. And yeah, he has quite a few of the top 8. I mean, this guy's power is just unbelievable. As you can see right here, last night is 466. He's trailing. He's got the second longest in Major League Baseball this season, other than Trout, who has 489. But, you know, we got some games left. And I'm sure Giancarlo, that's in his sights as well.
Well, Giancarlo told us yesterday before the game that he felt the home run derby would actually help him. You know, everybody says don't go there. Some guys don't go because they think it's going to affect their swing. Not in his case. What was he talking about?
You know, I think, like I said, he felt that he was going to have to get under the ball to lift the ball out, and that's not the proper swing. You don't want to take that swing into a game. Maybe in home run derby it works, but he found a way to keep his swing, which is staying on top of the ball, leveraging the ball, and hitting line drives, and he was able to do that because he's so strong. Not many guys could do that. He's able to do it, so it didn't affect his swing. It was a breath of fresh air, I'm sure, for us, it was a breath of fresh air to hear. I'm sure his manager took a big sigh of relief to think that he was thinking that way, because it keeps him in a very positive frame of mind and didn't let that home run derby run into his at-bats during the season, which are the most important part of it.
Sure, and he was struggling coming into that, and he said just that line drive swing, he actually helped him focus, and he thinks it's going to help him improve here this week. There was a lot on his mind last week. He wasn't the same guy. You talked to Frank Menachino, though. He's been impressed with some things.
You know, when you're in a little bit of a drought, you tend to get anxious, and you tend to speed up your lower half to make up for the power you're not having or the power you don't think you're getting. Well, when that bottom half speeds up, it slows down your hands and makes your swing long. So his point was, if he shortens up his stride a little bit and doesn't get so anxious, it shortens up his swing, and he gets to the ball quicker and directer on top, and that was the result last night.
All right, we'll look for you in the post-game show right now. Enjoy the ball game coming up. Good matchup tonight, real good one. Henderson Alvarez, the up-and-coming All-Star. Tim Hudson, the veteran All-Star again. Back in form, these two will collide in Game 2 of the series next.
Captain of the ship, aye. Welcome to the space program, sky. This is for the family when I get so fly. I'm gonna take you all the way. I am the captain of the ship, aye. Welcome to the space program, sky high. This is for the family when I get so fly. I'm gonna take you all the way. One for the party, two for the good time, three for the get ready to rock and rip ride. This is the headline.
And tonight, Henderson Alvarez takes the mound as the Fish try to snap a 5-game losing streak and get even with the Giants last night. The Giants pasted Miami in this ballpark, opening up the second half. Giants Land brought to you by JM Lexus. Hunter Pence is in right field. Joe Panik at second base. Buster Posey, the catcher. Pablo Sandoval's red hot, and so is Michael Morse. Brandon Belt's at first. Brandon Crawford, a big two-run homer last night. Gregor Blanco always hits the Marlins well. And Huddy, Tim Hudson, is slotted in the 9 spot. Henderson Alvarez got knocked around his last start before the All-Star break, but he was on a nice run before then.
Yeah, got knocked around, but his ERA is still a nifty 2.63. In a couple of career starts against the Giants, Henderson Alvarez is 0-1. He's never beaten this ball club, but we've talked about his ERA at home. This year at home, he's 4-1 with an ERA about 1.5.
And of course, he starts the ball game with the old school double pump with latte, mocha, whatever you want to call it. Here it is, little old-fashioned. Pence is ready to go, and a fastball buzzes him inside. It's 1-0. Alvarez started that in Double-A. Wasn't sure why. He saw a film of an old pitcher, figured that might be cool, and he's kept it since Double-A. Is 1-0 to Pence, and a 94-mile-an-hour fastball for a strike.
The amazing thing is we've seen just about every time he does that, it's a high fastball out of the strike zone.
I don't know that he's thrown a strike on a first pitch of a game yet.
I think he's thinking just in case somebody wants to jump on that first pitch fastball.
Counts 1-2 on Pence. Well, the Giants were impressive last night, knocking Nathan Eovaldi out of the game in the 5th. Pence into left. Yelich there, and he makes the catch. Good range in left with Yelich. In fact, great range all around Miami's outfield.
Yeah, we've talked about it. You have center fielder range in left field. Yelich, Ozuna, and Stanton. They can all play center field. Casey McGee and Garrett Jones at the corners. How about the second baseman? Jordani Valdespin, just called up from AAA, was playing second base. He played a little bit everywhere in AAA. Echeverria at short and Salty behind the plate. There's Valdespin.
Justin Bour sent down. Valdespin is up and in the lineup and hitting second tonight. Joe Panik for the Giants. Giants got Marco Scutaro back before the break and expect him tomorrow. And Alvarez goes down and picks a hot smash up the middle.
You know, he picks it, but he doesn't pick it normally. I mean, it's almost like it's during infield practice. All right, I'll pick it, I'll flip it up, a little hot potato, flip it up in the air and make the play. Here it is. Oop, there it is.
He does it with style. He does it with panache. He does it with a flair. And that's what makes him so much fun to watch. So Pence and Panik, and now Posey. And Buster Posey certainly had a big night last night. 3 hits, drove in 2 runs, upped his average to 281. Giants catcher, and of course a star in Tallahassee at Florida State.
Well, it's a big night for Florida State. Florida State alumni night. So Buster Posey, who was the Golden Spikes Award winner back in 2008.
And his skipper, Bruce Bochy, with Florida State ties as well. Breaking ball, he was on it. McGee with a terrific stop across the diamond in time. And a 1-2-3 first for Henderson Alvarez. This ball game is underway. The Marlins and the Giants from Miami. Baseball, Fox Sports Florida, brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places by AT&T U-verse TV. Find out what's possible with AT&T. Call 800-PICK-AT&T. Mobilizing your world. By Checkers. Checkers brings big flavor for a small price. Feed your craving. Quality for only $1. Cha-ching. And by your South Florida Honda dealers and sfhondadealers.com. Live shot, Goodyear blimp. Of course, on a Saturday night, you're going to have the Goodyear blimp hovering over downtown Miami. Marlins go to work against Tim Hudson. Christian Yelich leads it off. Yelich bangs the first pitch into right field for a hit. Boy, how sweet is Yelich's swing right now. He got locked in right before the All-Star break, right before he went on the DL, and he's kept that groove going.
How about a 12-game hitting streak now for Christian Yelich? Rich, I like the fact that he jumped on that first pitch. Every once in a while, you'll see him in that leadoff spot. He'll work the count. We see a lot of 3-ball counts. But you know what? He said to himself, Hudson's going to come at me with a nice sinker, two-seamer. He went right after it.
Jordani Valdespin in the 2 spot. And that 2 spot has been a troublesome spot. When Giancarlo Stanton started to slump about 2.5, 3 weeks ago, not only was he not getting on base, but no one in front of him was on base. There's only so much Christian Yelich can do, and the Marlins hoping to get a spark out of that number 2 spot and have Valdespin up and in that 2 spot tonight.
So many times you and I had the conversation when Stanton was hitting well, and other teams, other broadcasters would ask us, is it the guys hitting behind him? And we said, no, it's really the guys in front of him that have been getting on base, allowing him to get pitches to hit.
Yelich should dive back. Hudson and Alvarez very similar on the mound. Both field their positions well. Of course, Hudson's season last year cut short by about 2 months. That horrific play at first base. Eric Young Jr. hustling down the line. Hudson reaching with his right foot. And his foot ended up in the middle of the bag. And then Young's foot landed on top of Hudson's. Fractured his ankle, and he missed 2 months.
You know, the Giants took a little bit of a chance in signing Hudson. And you know what? If he wasn't such a good athlete, that play probably wouldn't have happened.
Hudson, 9 years a Brave and a terrific run in Atlanta after an incredible start for his career. 6 years as one of the 3 aces in Oakland, part of the Big 3. I mean, Hudson in Oakland was 92 and 39.
We have this conversation a lot with different players, and you never know, especially things are changing with the number of starts pitchers get. Tim Hudson will come into that Hall of Fame conversation possibly.
It's ball 2, and I think he gets into the conversation, Tommy, because of his low ERA, pitching in an era with steroids, with small ballparks. Obviously in the last 3-4 years, that started to decline and pitching has taken over. But the bulk of Hudson's career was when the balls were flying out of the ballpark. And his winning percentage. I mean, he's 212 and 117 right now in his career.
Well, he's just accomplished an awful lot. Active leaders, and just read today, CC Sabathia is going to have knee surgery that will take him out the rest of the season.
The guy that could go the furthest on that list is Mark Burley at 196. Into right field, Valdespin with a base hit. And Miami puts a couple runners on before Stanton gets to the plate. Here's the lineup. You've seen Yelich. You've seen Valdespin. They both put it into right field for hits. J.M. Lexus continues with Giancarlo Stanton in right. Casey McGee at third. Garrett Jones at first base. Marcell Ozuna in center. Jared Saltalamacchia doing the catching. Adedi Echeverria at short. And Henderson Alvarez in that 9 spot.
Here's a perfect example of what we were talking about. Hudson has no place to put Giancarlo. Remember last night, first time up, nobody on base. Bumgarner walked him. but there's no place to put him with the 2 hitters ahead of him on base.
If you watch Marlins live, you heard Carl Pavano talking about Stanton's swing in his conversation with Frank Menechino. He needs that swing against Hudson. It's hard to get elevation against this right-hander. And that's another thing that Alvarez and Hudson share. Now, you want elevation. You don't get a lot of elevation on this, but boy, do you get distance. Over 460 feet, 466. The exit speed at 115 miles an hour.
That's his 6th home run this year, over 450 feet.
No other team has that many. Toronto's got 4. They're the closest to Stanton. High chopper. Crawford waits for it. Out there. Panic's turn in time. And that's what Tim Hudson has done his entire career with that sinker.
It's been a rough matchup for Stanton. That was actually a pretty good pitch to hit. He just got on top of it, hit the top half of the ball. That hard top spin turned into a 6-4-3 double play. Giancarlo now just 3 for 16 in his career against Hudson.
Casey McGee now. So if the Marlins are going to get anything out of this inning, it's up to McGee, who continued his torrid year with 2 more hits last night. And Hudson misses outside. Garrett Jones is on deck.
And that's important because Garrett Jones has really good career numbers against Hudson.
McGee just 1 for 8 against Hudson. And Hudson misses away. Marlins last night seeing Madison Bumgarner. Hudson tonight. Tim Lincecum tomorrow. Got to feel pretty good as a manager when you trot that trio out to open up the second half. And Matt Cain isn't even mentioned.
Nor is Ryan Vogelsong.
Counts 3-0. There's Lincecum.
Boy, he's been on a tremendous roll. No hitter. Came back with a solid start next time.
A near no hitter.
Yeah.
He takes a strike. It's 3-1.
Little respect there. That was a 3-0 breaking ball.
McGee, liner center field, base hit, and he's done it again.
Hits. McGee just keeps on driving in runs. Came into the game with an average of 385 with runners in scoring position, and second half of the season he keeps rolling along. Got a pitch up very similar to the pitch that Stanton got, and Casey McGee takes advantage of it.
You watch that swing, Tommy. It's compact. He stays middle, his head on the ball. We watch him in batting practice every day, and he'll put the ball 15-20 rows into the seats, but not with that swing. It's a decidedly different approach when he's got runners in scoring position. He's running on the pitch. Posey's throw, and Casey McGee swipes second base.
Go ahead, Casey, do it all. Second stolen base of the year. He's 2 for 2. You know what? If you're going to not pay any attention to him, you're going to get a nice running jump, and he got a great jump. Head down, straight steal, beat the throw.
Counts 0-1 to Garrett Jones, as you pointed out, 6 for 14 in his career against Hudson. It's funny, we talk about the sinker and how important it is to both of these pitchers. Nobody on the Giants has ever homered against Alvarez, and Jeff Baker has the only career home run against Tim Hudson. Jones to center. Blanco went back, comes in, and makes the catch. Casey McGee, RBI number 54, 1-0 Miami.
Presentado en español vía SAP por Kendall y West Kendall Toyota.
A live look from the Goodyear blimp down to Marlins Park with the roof shut, AC on, and the Marlins up 1-0. San Francisco Giant fans here. Pablo Sandoval fans here. The Panda has been hot. He leads it off for San Francisco in the second. Michael Morse, Brandon Belt, both Sandoval and Morse hurt the Marlins, and Nathan Eovaldi last night.
By the way, that was only the third first inning run given up all year by Tim Hudson. So it usually doesn't take him long to settle in.
Sandoval last night got a pitch that was about eye high and didn't miss it. McGee doesn't get that one. It's off his glove. Sandoval's thinking two. Round first, headed for second, and he gets there. Which answers the question in many people's mind: can Pandas run?
Well, when he sniffs that double, he can. Yeah, we have seen Casey McGee. We saw him make a great play in the first inning. We've seen him make play after play after play. This one just off his glove, and because he deflected it, Yelich had to come a long way, and Panda picked that up right away for the two-base hit.
Pablo Sandoval is one of those guys that when you look at the defensive scouting report, there's really no way to play him or look him, because he'll hit the ball down the third baseline, he'll hit the ball down the first baseline, he'll shoot it in either gap. And now you've got Morse, and he was a wrecking crew last night. 2 big doubles, 3 hits on the night, and another big contingent in the Michael Morse fan club here tonight.
Yeah, he told me before the game that he personally left about 15 tickets, and then he said there are probably 30 or 40 others of close friends that are at the ballpark as well.
And he is continuing a trend that has seen a lot of Florida natives hurt the Marlins this year. What's up with this, Tommy Hutton? You've got Morse, D. Gordon had some great games.
McCutchen 6 for 15.
How about DeGrom for the Mets? He's 2-0. And Anthony Rizzo, who homered twice last night, has hurt the fish. Remember, he had that walk-off in extra innings at Wrigley Field early this year. Morse hits a ground ball to third. McGee fires across in time to get the out. Sandoval still at second. You can enjoy great savings with the new Marlin Flex Packs. Season ticket prices and the flexibility of coming to the ballpark when you want with as many people as you want. Get 20 ticket vouchers starting at just $13 a game. Pick up your Flex Pack today, 1-877-MARLINS, or go to marlins.com.
We talked about Anthony Rizzo with those 2 home runs. He's tied with Giancarlo now in the National League for the home run lead with 22. Last night, Rich, we talked about how pitchers try to pitch Michael Morse. They try to run hard stuff, 2-seamers in on the hands. It's a great example by Henderson Alvarez. Now, Morse has adjusted over the last few years, a little better on that pitch, but that was a good one and tied him up pretty well.
Liner and in for a hit, and the Giants have tied it. Brandon Belt legging out a double. Sandoval scores. Belt, who has been cold for the last 2.5, 3 weeks, ties this game at 1 apiece.
Yeah, it's frustrating because if you look back to last night's game, there's the swing by Belt. Remember, Nathan Eovaldi had a really nice 1-2-3 first inning. Then the Giants scored twice in the second. Well, Alvarez a nice 1-2-3 first. And the Giants have answered back with 1 here in the second inning so far.
Now Alvarez will try to limit the damage to just the 1 run. Crawford lifts it left field. Runner tags. Yelich makes the catch. And holding second is Belt. 2 outs. Fox Sports Supports is proud to collaborate with Stand Up to Cancer, a groundbreaking initiative created to accelerate innovative cancer research that gets new therapies to patients quickly in order to save lives now. For more information, visit foxsportsupports.com. Now Gregor Blanco in the 8th spot. A pair of Venezuelans dueling here, Alvarez and Blanco. Blanco's had success against Alvarez. 3 for 4. That one, Saltalamacchia's got a shot, and he throws it into left field. Yelich has it, runner coming home. Yelich's throw not in time. Wow. Saltalamacchia picked it up, had a shot at third, and missed everybody.
And had a huge shot at third base. He had Belt by a lot. Belt got caught in between. Pitch gets by. He reacts nicely. Good throw, would have had him by a couple of steps, and it wasn't even close. And alertly, Belt, even though Yelich charged it pretty well, Belt alertly came to the plate and would have scored with a good throw from left.
Goes as a passed ball and a throwing error on Saltalamacchia.
Well, the elbow's down, not squared up to the target. Almost hit Brandon Belt.
It's a swing.
When you're struggling, when you've lost 5 in a row, when you've lost 6 out of 7, you can't make plays like that. You have to make that play.
Two. It's in. Pitch was a strike on the Fox track.
Young umpire tonight, Chris Siegel. Check him out as the game goes on.
Giants with 2 runs after the Marlins got on the board in the bottom of the first. Alvarez gets the strikeout, but the Giants take the lead 2-1.
Lou? Well, I'll tell you what, our promotion is well underway here, the box office buyout, and it is on fire right now. Now, here's how it works, okay? Your friends at Fox Sports Florida have bought a block of tickets for 2 different games. The first one is on August 1st against the Reds. The second one is on August 15th against the Diamondbacks. Either of those games, you buy a ticket, we buy you another ticket. You buy 5 tickets, we buy you 5. You buy 10, we buy 10. Here's the thing, though. We only have so many tickets to go around. It's a Friday night, too. Really, really popular. And this offer's only good until the end of the broadcast tonight. So you need to call the phone number on your screen or go to the URL, take out your computer, your tablet, whatever you got, and buy your tickets now before they're all gone. Craig?
All right, thanks, Lou.
You're welcome.
Here's Marcell Ozuna, and he swings and misses at a breaking ball. Well, the Marlins will try to undo the damage from the top of the inning with Ozuna, Saltalamacchia, and Echeverria. But a run against Tim Hudson in the first, as you pointed out, that's a rarity this year. Hudson doesn't give up first inning runs. Ozuna lines out to right.
Hey, we didn't get a look at the Giants defensively last inning. There's Michael Morse, Gregor Blanco, Hunter Pence in the outfield, Sandoval and Crawford to the left side, Joe Panik at second base, Brandon Belt, the first baseman, and Buster Posey behind the plate.
Here is Saltalamacchia. And a swing and a miss. Saltalamacchia 1 for 3 last night. Drives it into left for a hit. Morse picks it up. Saltalamacchia, big turn. Morse has got a strong arm and holds him to a single. Time for the fan photo. Hashtag it FLFanPhoto. And Tommy, you might end up on the show. Lou might end up back on the show as the AT&T fan photo. Last night it was a Giancarlo selfie. Fan with the Giancarlo.
That was a nice shot.
It was. Saltalamacchia with a base hit. Here's Echeverria. You got Alvarez on deck. Hudson doesn't have the velocity he had as an Oakland Athletic or early in his days with the Atlanta Braves, but he can take something off of it, he can sink it, he can run it. Always a guy that gets a lot of these ground balls in double play spots, and that's the second one he's got already. And the Marlins' second inning ends quickly. Drink up. 2-1 Giants. Brings you the upcoming broadcast schedule, and these are times for Marlins Live. That starts our broadcast day tomorrow at 12:30 with a 1 o'clock game. Marlins and Giants finishing the 3-game set. Then on to Atlanta, 4 games against the Braves, and all 6:30 starts for Marlins Live. Thanks to the folks at Lexus and Pembroke Pines. 2-1 here. Giants got 2 runs against Henderson Alvarez in the second. Tim Hudson can swing it, and a nice short hop pick by the ball boy there, saving the security guy. Look at that, just kick back.
It's a relaxed play.
Yeah, I got it. I got you.
Keep in mind, this is slow motion. This ball was hit hard. The short hop, too.
Ooh, in slow motion, you can see the head turn towards the seats. But a nice play nonetheless. When Hudson, of course, was an Auburn Tiger, he was terrific on the mound and at the plate. He was the SEC Player of the Year. Not only did he lead the NCAA in wins, he hit .396 with 18 homers. He drove in 95.
That's a great year. I mean, he was 15-2 on the mound. There's another guy in the ballpark, one of his teammates. It was a great two-way player himself at Florida State, Buster Posey.
Down goes Hudson. Well, it is Florida State Alumni Night. We've seen a lot of Florida State caps. Of course, the Marlins team store sells the Marlins cap in Florida State colors, and they've taken over the Cleveland, and John Tuitu, who is the bastion of collegiate style and fashion, always with a different college shirt on. He's rocking Florida State colors.
Well, the thing about John Tuitu is that he always reads the memo. So that's why he has the FSU shirt on.
He's the only cameraman in all of baseball with a Rawlings sponsorship. That one off the wall. Stanton picks it off, and Hunter Pence at second base with a double. Second double of the night for the Giants. 22nd on the season for Pence.
Well, the Giants came into this series, first series after the All-Star break, with a few guys that had not been swinging the bat well. And they certainly broke out of things last night. They've had some good swings here so far tonight.
Joe Panik, the pride of St. John's. And a first-round pick of the Giants. Up the middle, Alvarez, a body block, picks it up, gets the out. Not sure what he used to knock it down, but whatever it was, it hurts.
Yeah, he's hurting right now. I don't know where it hit, but he knocked it down and still had the presence to get up knowing that he had an out if he could get to the ball. This ball hits him solidly. He picks and fires. And we see him make plays like this all the time. Let's just hope that he's okay.
Looked like it hit him in that right leg, the lower right leg. Above the ankle. Not quite flush on the shin because he was turned sideways. Boy, and he's in a lot of pain right now, which is not a good sign. He's coming out of the ball game.
Wow. This is not what the Marlins need right now. What they needed was a solid 7-inning performance from Henderson Alvarez. And unfortunately, that ball stung by Joe Panik is going to knock him out of the game.
Well, it's an interesting spot right now for Mike Redmond, who a couple weeks ago had two long men in the bullpen, Brad Hand and Jacob Turner. Both of those guys are now in the rotation.
And if not for that, you'd probably see the call down to the bullpen for a Jacob Turner or for a Brad Hand. It still could be a Jacob Turner.
Some of it depends on throw days, and if one of those guys threw today or is scheduled to throw tomorrow, because obviously with the All-Star break, everybody's fresh. The problem is, as a starter, you have a throw day in preparation for your next start.
Well, the other thing, let's say if it's a Jacob Turner, he's starting Tuesday. You don't worry about Tuesday start now. You have to worry about this situation right here. And then you worry about Tuesday when it comes around.
Unless Turner has thrown already today as part of his throw day.
Which is very, very possible.
And it looks like Sam Dyson.
And Brad Hand, of course, is pitching the game tomorrow.
Yeah, so Hand is ramped up and ready to go tomorrow, and here comes Dyson. And so the Marlins, with already their ace Jose Fernandez out for the season, lose Henderson Alvarez for tonight at the very least. Able to make the play, but after the play he doubled over in pain, and the longer he was out there, Tommy, the more it seemed to hurt.
Boy, it's really hard to tell exactly where that ball got him. Could have been somewhere in the area of the shin.
Well, this is going to take a while because Dyson gets as long as he needs to warm up. Our West Kendall Toyota called to the bullpen. that ball hit. As it turns out, as you see Sam Dyson continue to loosen up, it hit both. The important one was the first one it hit.
Yeah, the initial hit is on that back leg, the shin. And right there, and then it caroms over to the calf of the other leg. But when you take a shot hit that hard off the shin area, that's why he's hobbled as badly as he is. And boy, you just hope that he'll be able to get treatment and be ready for his next start.
Sam Dyson gets as long as he wants, and we have a chance to check in with Craig Minervini. Craig?
All right, thank you very much, Rich. The Florida State alumni here are celebrating out in the Clevelander tonight as one of these alumni nights. We had a Miami Hurricanes night earlier this season. You know, Marlins catcher Jeff Mathis was an outstanding top-flight high school quarterback. He, in fact, attracted a full ride to Florida State. Grew up not far from there, about an hour away, a monster Seminole fan, but of course elected to go the baseball route. That's worked out very well for him here in the major leagues for a long time. And we talked to him today, and you may notice in his dugout spot there in the clubhouse, a little Seminole football helmet over his shoulder as well.
Big Florida State fan, so I appreciate, the alumni nights and what it represents, and it's awesome. Don't have season tickets right now. Did growing up.
In the past,
yeah, in the past. Mom used to take us over there, whenever she could. But still a big fan and follow them, a lot. Being an hour away from Tallahassee, I'm able to keep up with them pretty regularly.
Jeff went to the great national championship game at the Florida State Seminoles in the offseason, and he said it was one of the best events he's ever been at. So he is a guy who's not only had a chance to play for Florida State, but is a big fan to this day. And I'm sure if he wasn't on this field, he'd be right here with all these Seminole fans at the Clevelander. We'll check back in with him in a little bit, guys.
Oh, that's a tie-in to the ball game tonight. Tim Hudson, an Auburn star, and that national championship game at the Rose Bowl.
Well, there are all kinds of tie-ins because the first batter that Sam Dyson is going to have to face is Buster Posey.
Active players from Florida State: Fred Randy Choate, Stephen Drew, Tyler Holt, Shane Robinson. Just saw him in St. Louis.
Shane Robinson was a hit machine at Florida State.
Posey takes a strike, and it's 0-1. So Sam Dyson now into the ball game with 2 outs. Here in the top of the third. And of course Dyson, as it always happens, scheduled to lead off. This could be a tough play, and they make it. McGee picked by Jones. Posey is out. The run dies at third. 2-1 Giants.
bottom of the third. Florida State Alumni Night. Craig Minervini is knee-deep in Seminoles in the Clevelander. Craig?
Well, Rich, thank you very much. We talked to some of the, show the Florida State alumni. They're all over here. Big group. And we have happy news. Very happy. Nico and Tara here. You met? Where did you guys meet?
At Florida State University.
And when did you meet?
2006.
2006. And this August, thanks to that meeting, we're getting married.
Yes, August 9th.
Isn't that great? Now, without Florida State, you guys never would have met. So
Exactly. Florida State is amazing. I'll never regret anything.
You having a good time here at the Marlin game tonight?
Oh, absolutely.
We're loving it.
What's with the balloon? Did Tutti Frutti make that for you or no?
So many girls were just throwing it on me. They love me. I can't help it.
All right, since you're going to take the plunge August 9th, would you take the...
We're not doing it now.
Come on. Give somebody your phone. You should take the plunge.
No, they want us to jump in the pool.
They should take the plunge if they got... maybe you think about it. You think about it, and maybe if they decide to, we'll come back for the plunge. All right, guys? Congratulations.
All right, thank you, Craig. Sam Dyson at the plate. The Giants have made a couple of defensive moves out there. Tyler Colvin is in left. And Michael Morse is across the diamond at first.
So Brandon Belt out of the game. May have injured himself on that double.
Well, the Marlins have lost Henderson Alvarez. We'll get you a report as soon as we can. Dyson rolls one up the middle. Crawford makes the play. And so 1 out. 2014 Copa Euro Americana soccer tournament between Europe and the Americas. And Chris Hatch, Hatch goes down. Atlético Nacional takes on AS Monaco. Wednesday the 23rd. Purchase your tickets. 1-800-967-9393. Go to marlins.com/soccer. He scored. Atlético Nacional. And there it is. AC Monaco.
On the assist from Mike Dunn.
Very nice. That's some of our best work. Here's Yelich. First pitch he saw in the first. He ripped into right for a base hit. He scored on the McGee single. Hudson, a breaking ball that misses inside.
Christian Yelich playing tonight in his 15th game since coming off the disabled list. And with his base hit, first time up, he's hitting around 340 since his return. And just keep moving that a little bit more. A little over 340 now.
Into center field, the base hit. Now, Christian Yelich this year is our fantasy auction ambassador. And he is part of the pledge packs. And the pledge packs are available right now. Go to marlins.com/fantasy. See all that cool stuff? It's a Christian Yelich autographed baseball, Christian Yelich bobblehead, Fox Sports 1 cap. Now, there are actually 2 Marlin caps. There's a red-orange cap and a black cap. So you get 2 Marlin caps, one of each color. DHL is the sponsor of the pledge packs. You also get a Tommy Bahama beach mat, $25 Clevelander gift certificate. You can go out and party with Craig in the Clevelander. And a voucher for 4 tickets to a Marlins ball game. Did I miss anything?
I think you got it all.
Got the voucher. Oh, a dry fit Fox Sports Florida shirt. All of those things. And you can get them marlins.com/fantasy. All the money goes to the Marlins Foundation, and all that money goes into South Florida youth. We see it in action all the time, Tommy, whether it's Christmas gifts, whether it's school books, education needs, Boys and Girls Club, youth baseball. That's where the money comes from. The fantasy auction is on the 29th of July. It's the Washington Nationals. Tommy and I will be in the Fox Sports Florida suite. We'll have stuff going on all over Marlins Park. Valdespin takes a strike. If you're just joining us and you're saying, wait a minute, Jordany Valdespin? Jordany Valdespin's been down at New Orleans. He was having a good month. Marlins looking for some pop. in the 2 spot, a guy that can get on base, move runners. And Valdespin singled to right back in the 1st inning. Yelich at first, Hudson from the stretch. 2-1 coming. The roster move to get Valdespin here involved 2 things. Justin Bour down to New Orleans. Valdespin not on the 40-man roster, so to make room, Rafael Furcal went from the 15-day DL to the 60-day DL. That takes him temporarily off of the 40-man roster while he's on the 60-day DL.
Well, he's a versatile guy, Jordany Valdespin. He was playing in AAA. He played some second, some short, some third. Played all the outfield spots. He's a left-handed hitter. 1 year as a Met, he had a terrific year pinch hitting.
Yelich diving back in. Yelich has swiped 11 bags. No Henderson Alvarez. He's left the game with a left shin contusion that on the comebacker in the 3rd inning off the bat of Joe Panik. And Valdespin up the middle, and that is the 3rd double play.
Wow.
That Tim Hudson has rolled in 3 innings. How about that? Goodyear with superior performing tires that knock it out of the park. Goodyear, more driven. Night falling on Miami. Hey, camera 12, welcome back. 2-1. Giants on top in the 4th. It's copyrighted telecast presented by the Authority. The Marlins may not be reproduced, retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Marlins. There should be a law, Tommy, on having the announcer read the disclaimer while camera 12 is operational.
Well, they know that you have the concentration to pull it off, and it's only fitting that camera 12 is in business. When you lose your best starter, he has to come out of the game.
You have to improvise.
Yeah, at least break out camera 12.
Sandoval golfs one into center. Oh, Zuna! Did he hold it? He lost it. Ozuna had his arm extended and then had to roll over, and it looked like he lost it in the roll.
Looked like he was actually there in time. Let's see. He reaches and reached a little too far. The ball got him on the heel of the glove. And anytime you see him in an attempt that way, you think about the play at Coors Field where he injured that thumb in the wrist area and had to miss the rest of the year. But a good attempt, but he just really overreached it because the ball came back and got him on the heel of the glove.
It's a single. Sandoval has a couple of hits by the narrowest of margins. And here now is Morse. Sam Dyson got Buster Posey to bounce out. That finished off the third. Giants getting a pair of runs in the second. One was unearned. About as unearned as you'll get, with Brandon Belt at second and Gregor Blanco at the plate. A pitch popped out of the glove of Jared Saltalamacchia, then bounced off the screen back to him. He had plenty of time to throw out Belt at third, and he threw the ball well off a third into left field, and Belt scored. And that may have been the play that brought Belt out of the ball game.
Yeah, after that double, racing to third, then coming in to score. No surprise, the Giants have turned the 3 double plays. They've turned 103 this year. That leads the National League.
Harder swing. Carlos Gomez, Michael Morse.
Gomez. Morse is a little more under control when he swings. Gomez will take that big cut and fall down.
But it's, I mean, he's the guy you always talk about, getting a good swing on 2-0 or 3-0. He's the guy that gets that good swing on that hitter's count. And he's meant so much to the Giants this year. Where would they be without Morse? 25 doubles, 14 home runs.
Big part of their lineup, middle of the order.
And, you know, he and tonight's starter, Tim Hudson, both new to the Giants. And Morse swings and misses.
Well, he has named, I didn't know you could name your swing. He's named his swing the Samurai Cobra Snake. It didn't work for him that time because once again, as Alvarez did, tried to work inside. Just tried to tie him up enough.
But if you're as strong as Morse and you have as much success, you can call your swing whatever you want.
This is not the greatest of comparisons, but it just popped into my mind because it's an area where this young hitter has to adjust to that pitch inside. It's Jake Marisnick. Not comparing him to Michael Morse, but when he adjusts to that pitch inside, he'll be an everyday big league player.
Tyler Colvin gets his first at bat of the night. Colvin came in when Brandon Belt came out. No report yet on Belt. We did let you know that Henderson Alvarez had a left shin contusion on the comebacker off the bat of Joe Panik.
A couple of guys with some unusual swings there. Hunter Pence and Michael Morse. How about this? We're talking about Jake Marisnick, Pacific Coast League Player of the Week.
First time the Zephyrs have ever had both pitcher and position player of the week in the Coast League. It's good to see Marisnick doing well down there.
Good to see Caminero doing well.
It hit him. Dyson on a breaking ball clips Tyler Colvin.
Went with the slider and just came in a little bit too much. Colvin had that leg, that front leg planted. He couldn't move, and it just caught him above the knee. Tyler Colvin at first. Sandoval goes to second. Sam Dyson out of the University of South Carolina.
Now Crawford fouls it off. Marlins Live at 12:30, brought to you by your South Florida Honda dealers. Greg Minervini, Carl Pavano. Got the South Florida Collegiate Baseball League. Tim Lincecum getting the start. That's the freaky stuff. Dyson hits the corner. 0-2 to Crawford, who had that epic at bat last night. 11 pitches, fouled 6 of them off, and then blasted one out of here to really stagger Nathan Eovaldi. And Eovaldi would not recover from that. He would give up a 3-run homer to Pablo Sandoval and leave after a short night, which makes the injury to Alvarez a little more troublesome. Obviously, you lose a pitcher like Alvarez of that caliber. The Marlins bullpen worked last night, and they're back out here early tonight.
Well, unfortunately, Mike Redmond, Chuck Hernandez back on that that ride of having to dip into the bullpen early. Now tonight, no choice because of the injury, but it just continues to deplete a bullpen and overwork a bullpen.
Foul back to the screen. As you noted, Dyson is out of South Carolina. No wonder he hit Colvin. Colvin's from Clemson. South Carolina, Clemson, they don't necessarily get along. Crawford out of UCLA. Giants at first and second. Ground ball. Jones sets himself and gets the out. And there are 2 outs. Eric Jones drifting towards second. Not sure he liked the throwing lane that he had.
Yeah, I think you know, he has to make this choice. Feet get a little tangled up. I think he had time, but you're right. He may not have had a good sight line to Echeverria covering. So he decided to get the out at first.
And to get out of the inning now, Dyson has to get Gregor Blanco. Here's a better look, Hut, with the lane. And that's a good shot, because if you watch that and you see the end of it, Echeverria's feet are on the inside of the diamond. And so Jones would have had to throw through the runner to get to Echeverria.
If Echeverria's on the other side of the bag, it's a little different decision, I think, for Garrett Jones.
See Etch's feet?
Yeah. If he's on the other side, but he couldn't get to the other side,
right,
to give him that angle. So good choice by Garrett Jones.
So Miami doesn't want to pitch to Gregor Blanco. We talked about Hudson and all the things that he did as a hitter in college.
Well, he's hit 3 home runs as a major leaguer.
It took him a while to do that, though. Remember,
well, he spent a lot of time in Oakland, too, with the DH.
And that rust kind of carried over for his first few years in Atlanta. Chance to help himself in a 2-1 ball game in the 4th. Dyson misses. Career with bases loaded. 267.
Madison Bumgarner 2 up on him in that department.
And the problem here is this: Hudson, outstanding college hitter, and that may not have translated to big numbers in the big leagues, but he knows the strike zone. And unless Dyson throws a strike, Hudson is just going to keep that bat on his shoulder. And it's 3-0.
But sometimes the harder you try to throw a strike, the more you miss the strike zone.
And he has missed on all 3. Would you be surprised if Hudson takes a rip?
I don't think so. I think Bruce Bochy would say he's smart enough, good enough athlete, he's not going to chase one.
Didn't have to, and the Giants get another run. An intentional walk to load the bases, and a walk to force in a run.
Well, there are a bunch of reasons this is tough. First of all, once you intentionally walk a batter to get to the pitcher, you must throw strikes. Now, once that hasn't occurred and Hudson draws the walk, the bases are still loaded. The Giants added another run, and now you have to go to the top of the order and face Hunter Pence.
And of course, Pence is not a normal top of the order guy. He's a middle of the order run producing type guy, albeit with an interesting warm-up swing that he's used his entire career.
Well, the last couple of years, Hunter Pence has averaged 100 RBIs.
And so here is Pence, who's doubled, driven in 33 this year in a messy inning with another run for the Giants. A hit batter, an intentional walk, a walk to the pitcher with the bags loaded. Remember, the inning started with Sandoval's liner, in which Ozuna made a terrific dive and actually overreached the ball and had it pop out of his glove as he slid on the outfield turf.
The other thing it's doing, if Mike Redmond's hope was to get a couple of innings out of Dyson to help that bullpen along, that's going to be tough because his pitch count keeps going up.
And Dyson's not a guy that's been stretched out this year, so he's good for maybe a couple innings at this pace. A strike, and it's 2-1. Henderson Alvarez knocked out of this ball game on a line shot up the middle off the bat of Joe Panik. Sam Dyson in, and he's run into trouble here in the fourth. Bases filled with Giants. 2-1 to Pence. 2-2.
There's no question the stuff is there for Dyson. You saw that last fastball, 96 on the gun.
Two. Pence has one of the great grunts in the game when he swings. Not sure how to describe it, but if you've got that surround sound going at home, I'm sure you've heard it.
Well, he also has a unique stance and grip. One of the few players that chokes up on the bat a couple of inches.
Two and two. Tommy, did you make noise when you swung the bat?
No, I didn't swing that hard.
As Tommy pointed out, this is a guy that his entire career, whether an Astro, a Philly, or even a Giant, has been a run producer. Got jammed. The count's still 2-2.
And as he matured as a hitter and got with better teams, he produced more runs. When he was an Astro, first 4 years he averaged 23 home runs, 79 RBIs. Next 3 years, averaged 100 RBIs.
Pence into right field. That's a base hit. They will score one. Round third. Blanco coming. Stanton overruns it. Pence is into second. Hudson to third. And the Giants crack it to a 5-1 lead. And a nice at bat by Hunter Pence.
Here's his ability. He try to overpower a ball. He just takes care of a high fastball. Had some velocity, but the ball was up. And shoots it between first and second. Giancarlo overruns it. He'll be charged with an error, allowing the second run to come in and score. Now, you can talk about a lot of things, but one of the things that stands out has been sloppy play tonight, too.
Did they really take an RBI away from Pence? Blanco, in my mind, was running all the way with 2 outs.
From 2 outs, got a guy with speed. Yeah, he would have scored anyway.
Yeah, so
I mean, there would have been a play at the plate.
And there's an error, obviously, to move Pence to second, but I'm stunned that he doesn't get 2 RBIs.
And the error also allowed Hudson to go to third.
Well, Joe Panik, who hit the hard smash off of Alvarez that knocked Miami starter out of the game in the 3rd inning. Bouncer out to Valdespin at second, gets the out at first. And the Giants add on 3 more runs. And in Miami tonight, it's 5-1 San Francisco. Park, where the Marlins are trailing the Giants 5-1. And folks, I've got a great ticket offer I want to talk to you about here. Look at the excitement out here. If you want to be part of this, you need to take advantage of our box office buyout. Your friends at Fox Sports Florida have bought a block of tickets for the games coming up August 1st against the Regs and August 15th against the Diamondbacks. And all you have to do is call the number on your screen right now or go to the URL that's there and buy a ticket. For every ticket you buy, your friends at Fox Sports Florida are going to buy you a ticket as well. You're going to be saving money because every ticket you buy, you're going to get one for free from your friends at Fox Sports Florida, because we're picking up the tab on that one. Now, here's the catch. You got to do it during the broadcast tonight, during the game, because once the game's over, the ticket offer is over as well, and we only have a limited number of tickets available. So, if you don't take advantage of it quickly, they could all be gone, all right? So, it's the box office buyout. Get in on it before the end of the game tonight. Back to you, Rich. Hey, Lou, you're out in left field, right?
I am.
Have you been down to the Clevelander yet? There's a big... Where'd you go to school? Did you go to Florida State?
No, I went to Holy Cross in Massachusetts.
Oh, well, I don't know if they have the Clevelander up near Holy Cross.
No, but we did.
I don't think so, Rich.
But you might want to check it out. That's a terrific offer tonight. So
we'll take a look at it.
We will. We'll keep our fingers crossed, and we'll visit with you again later tonight.
All right, Rich. Thanks, man.
All right. Lou's got a good spot out there. He's right near the 401 mark in left field.
You better turn around because Giancarlo's up.
Stanton takes down low. If you're just joining us, a lot of things have gone wrong for the Fish tonight. The Marlins, offensively, have hit into a double play in every inning. It's the bottom of the 4th. Their 4th at bat. Stanton bounced into one in the 1st. Geico quote. It was a pretty good pitch, I thought, but everyone knows Tapper foul. Everyone knows how far he can hit the ball from Madison Bumgarner on a 466-foot home run. Stand with the count 2-2. Posey sets up way out, and Hudson with a sharp breaking ball hit the glove right on the mark with that pitch, and Stanton goes down.
Just his first strikeout from Tim Hudson, who, you know, we've seen the two-seamer. There's the breaking ball, a good one. He'll throw a split, kind of like a changeup.
That's amazing. Posey puts the glove up, and Hudson hits it with a sharp break. I mean, it's one thing to hit the glove with a fastball, but it's another thing on a sharp slider like that to just put it right where the catcher wants it.
How many times in his long career has he done that, too?
There's McGee. RBI single for McGee in the first.
Tim Hudson, even in his minor league career, has never had a losing season as a professional.
Just turned 39, Phoenix City, Alabama. You were talking about his career numbers. If he's able to squeeze another 2, 3, 4 years out of his career, the possibility of Hall of Fame talk. The one thing that he's not been able to do is get deep into the postseason. Not by his own accord. The ball clubs he's pitched for have been to the postseason 6 times, never advancing past the division series. Oakland never could get over the hump.
Some of the big awards he's never won, but he's been in the top 6 in Cy Young voting 4 times.
People think about the big 3 in Oakland, and some assume that they won a lot of Cy Youngs. Just one, and it was Barry Zito.
Zito, Mulder, Hudson.
Garrett Jones bounces out, and the Marlins are done in the 4th. Sports Florida brought to you by Palmetto 57 Nissan and Palmetto 57 Volkswagen, home of your money-back guarantee. By Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. Visit us at Publix.com. And by your South Florida Chevy dealer. Goodyear blip, live shot from above. Marlins Park, 5-1, Giants on top. Rich Waltz along with Tommy Hutton. The pledge packs are here. DHL, the pledge pack sponsor this year.
I like this one.
That is the Tommy Bahama beach mat. We have in the pledge pack this year. Look at the caps. Fox Sports 1 cap. There's Buster Posey.
All right, I'll hold that one.
Fox Sports 1 cap.
Okay.
Red orange Marlins cap. Traditional black Marlins cap. Those are all sweet and adjustable. So actually, you know what? This one is a stretch. One size fits all.
I like those.
All right, you've got this, Hut. $25 gift card from the Clevelander. So when Lou and Craig go down to the Clevelander, they'll have some spending coin. All right. Dry fit Fox Sports Florida shirt.
Oh, that's nice.
So you can sweat all you want. You can sweat it all you want. Wash it up. You're good to go.
Take that on the road to work out.
This would be a authenticated Major League Baseball signed by Christian Yelich. There's the signature. There's the Major League Baseball hologram authenticating the ball.
And we thank Christian Yelich for doing that.
Absolutely. Oh, wait a minute.
What else?
In the bottom of the bag. Bottom of the bag. Let's get it out. Today, for the first time, Christian Yelich got a chance to see his bobblehead.
Cool. Good stuff. Yeah, the bat's not in there, but there is a bat there. It shows that nice, sweet swing of Christian Yelich.
And that is what you get in the pledge pack. And it's part of our fantasy auction. You can go there now and buy it online, marlins.com/fantasy. And we encourage you to do that before the event on the 29th. Traditionally, the pledge packs sell out before the event. And so it's a chance for those of you that don't have the $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 to bid on the big items for a chance to donate and get some really cool stuff. Stuff you can't get. I mean, can you get a Fox Sports 1 cap in a store, Tommy Hutton?
No, you have to have connections.
And if you're not at the ball game the day they give these out, you're not going to get a Christian Yelich bobblehead, Clevelander gift card. So it's a pretty cool deal, and we hope you'll participate. And of course, it's a great cause. Pablo Sandoval smokes one into center field, and the Giants are set up runners at first.
And Rich, now I want to see you get all of that stuff back in the bag.
Well, I'll do it while we talk with Craig Minervini.
Okay.
Craig?
All right, let me know if you pull it off. Hey, in Jacksonville tonight, talk about bobbleheads, a very unique bobblehead giveaway. This has got to be a prime spot eventually in the Bobblehead Museum here in Miami. The Derek Dietrich juggling bobblehead tonight. The pins are not in the air, though, unfortunately. They're giving away at the Suns game. Derek, popular there when he wore that Suns jersey, on the DL right now, recovering with the Marlins here. But that's a great giveaway. You see sometimes, I remember Jupiter Hammerheads years later gave one to Cabrera, and now Dietrich being honored for his exploits there on the AA level. So that's a good one, isn't it?
That is, and when you talk about like a Miguel Cabrera, how cool is that for a fan at a minor league ballpark to get a bobblehead, and then all of a sudden that player goes on to have the kind of career Miggy has had.
Absolutely.
All right, Craig, thank you. I just got everything back in the bag. It's a foul ball off of Morse's foot. Mike Morse and the Giants a 5-1 lead. Sam Dyson working here in the fifth. I guess the question is, how many pitches can the Marlins get out of Dyson?
Well, and the other thing, regardless, to the point that he's got now, you're not going to be able to use him for 2 or 3 games. That puts more on the bullpen for the next few games.
Valdespin got one there. Echeverria, and a nice double play, a much needed one for Miami. Good turn by Echeverria.
And a nice job, you think about it, by 2 guys who weren't together in spring training to work on turning double plays. Did a little bit of it before the game tonight. So the feed by Valdespin and then the strong throw from Echeverria. And he knew he had time with Morse the runner.
And a chance for Dyson to get out of this inning if he can get Tyler Colvin. He hit Colvin in the fourth, a breaking ball that just grazed the pant leg of Colvin. But that was kind of Dyson's undoing in the inning. It set a few things in motion. The Marlins would intentionally walk Gregor Blanco to load the bases, and then Dyson would walk the pitcher Tim Hudson with the bags loaded and brought up Hunter Pence. He punched a 2-run single to right, and yes, they have adjusted the scoring on that play and given Pence 2 RBIs.
Well, we talked about it at the time. Walking intentionally a hitter to load the bases to get to the pitcher, it's a must that you throw strikes to that pitcher.
Dyson didn't. Pence made him pay, and the Giants stretched their lead to 5-1. 0-2.
Did you get all the stuff back in that bag?
I did.
Good job.
I did. There's a lot of cool stuff in there. And we thank Christian Yelich, and we look forward to tomorrow, because as the ambassador of the Pledge Packs, you always film the Pledge Pack commercial with all the stuff. And
he's doing that tomorrow?
He's doing that tomorrow.
Oh, very good.
We've had some great Pledge Pack spokesfolks over the years. High pop-up. Valdespin has it. And Dyson does get out of the inning. Halfway through, 5-1 Giants. By Goodyear, with superior performing tires that knock it out of the park. Goodyear, more driven. In Miami tonight, worst case scenario for the Marlins, they had Henderson Alvarez on the hill. And in case you missed it, he took one off the left shin. Made the play at first, which was Joe Panic for the Giants. Watch it ricochet off that back leg.
And then kick off the right calf. But the difficult situation now with that injury, and we don't know how long it's going to be, but let's say Henderson Alvarez can't make his next start. Mike Redmond will need somebody to fill that role. Now he's already inserted Jacob Turner and Brad Hand in the rotation. They were the long man in the bullpen. So right now, there really isn't a long man in that bullpen, someone who could give him 4 or 5 innings.
So in a game like this, it's going to have to be chopped a couple innings apiece. Brad Penny is an interesting name. 79 pitches. They're starting to stretch him out, and he's having success in AAA. A pair of runs in 6 innings. Ozuna, chopper, Crawford makes the play.
There are a couple of other names to just kind of file away in the back of your head. Anthony DeSclafani is throwing the ball well his last 3 starts. And obviously a little experience. Eli Villanueva was a AAA All-Star. So you've got some possibilities if that's the way the ball club has to go.
Has to is the important word in that phrase. Ozuna bounces out. And here is Saltalamacchia.
And you and I, we don't speculate on that stuff. We just throw out the options.
Up the middle with the shift. Crawford right there, and he throws out Saltalamacchia. Brandon Crawford is a terrific shortstop for the Giants. And he got to the big leagues with his glove. And if you ever find yourself with something, time on your hand, computer in front of you, Google Brandon Crawford trick plays, because he's got some videos that he made as a minor leaguer, as a college shortstop, where he has a series of trick plays that he makes, and it's incredible to watch. So just saying, maybe during a 7-pitch inning that might be tough, but 5-1 Giants. On top of the Marlins. Tomorrow's series closes with the Marlins and the Giants at 1:10. Pepsi 4 for $54 pack at 4 tickets, 4 KM beef franks, 4 Pepsi soft drinks, starting at just $54. All fans get a Marlins All-Star poster, courtesy of Franklin Dodd Communications. Go to marlins.com for tickets.
Well, you're talking about Brandon Crawford. Here he is leading off the inning. Brandon Crawford, who grew up a Giants fan. His family they were season ticket holders. Used to go to games at Candlestick. If you went to games at Candlestick, you were a true Giants fan.
In fact, they used to give out little badges. Was it the Candlestick, for those that hung in there for an extra inning night game? I would go to games as a kid at Candlestick and would make sure to bring the biggest jacket I had, the biggest set of gloves I had, a scarf.
Well, that was always the weird part about playing games at Candlestick. You would leave downtown San Francisco, the team hotel, and it would be sunny. It would be a pretty nice day in the summer, and then all of a sudden you get out there and right around BP time during batting practice, fog would roll in, it'd get windy. By game time, it was like winter.
Was it Mark Twain that wrote the coldest winter I ever spent was a summer in San Francisco?
Summer in San Francisco.
Crawford walks. Here's our Coors moment. This is Candlestick, back when they had the turf. Back when Clint Eastwood was going to games. Or Harry Callahan, I should say. Our Coors Banquet Timeless moment. Juan Marichal, one hits the Phillies. A walk and 12 punch-outs. Played Dalrymple, one of Tommy's heroes growing up. Singled in the 8th inning.
Saw Wes Parker striking out there. That was back in the day when Clint Eastwood was playing Misty for you, too.
That's right. Clint Eastwood must have made a ton of movies in San Francisco around that time, and on a lot of them, he would find himself out at Candlestick watching the Giants. That one hits Dyson. McGee picks it up, and the throw to first is late. Blanco, the latest Giant to hit a Marlin on the mound. Alvarez left the game. Dyson replaced him in the 3rd, and now Dyson takes one a little higher up, but certainly that's going to smart.
Well, he's already established, Sam Dyson has, a career high in pitches. 64 pitches he's thrown. Yeah, remember the one hopper back to Henderson Alvarez was on that bony shin area, the left shin. This was on a little more padded backside of Sam Dyson. Not that it doesn't sting.
And with Hudson up, runners first and second, this sets up nicely for the Giants.
That shot off the backside. Good attempt by Casey McGee to come over and almost make the out.
Hudson's bunt is foul.
That ball came off the bat of Blanco at 98.9 miles per hour. We always enjoy the practice swings of Hunter Pence. Extremely unorthodox. Whatever it takes to get ready.
There is nothing orthodox about it.
Imagine if a Little League coach saw a Little League player doing that. The on-deck circle.
Good bunt by Hudson. Now the speed at first. An out here in the 6th. We'll check in with Craig Minervini. Craig?
Well, Rich, here he comes up there for the Giants. Mr. Reliable Hunter Pence. He's missed only 5 innings of the Giants. 866 innings this year. He missed only 16 innings of baseball last season. And you see his active streak now up to 318 for consecutive games played. And that is the actual number. Giancarlo Stanton is 5th on the current list of consecutive games played. Markakis, Castro, and Longoria in between Pence and Stanton.
Well, Hunter Pence is in a big spot again, and he was in a big spot, Tommy and Craig, back in the 4th. With 2 outs, the bags loaded, he punched one into right field to drive in 2. 35 RBIs for Pence. Bruce Bochy watching quietly.
this goes back to your point about a guy who really is a middle of the order guy. Chris Hatcher starts to get ready. And here he is in the leadoff spot, but he finds himself a few times in this game tonight in situations where he can drive in runs, and he drove in 2 in the 4th inning.
Into the bat, not real deep, charging in Stanton, and he makes a running catch. And terrific play. Crawford had to hold at third base. If Stanton leaves his feet, Tommy, Crawford probably scores.
And that's what you're looking for if you're the runner at third base. You go back to tag, and you, number one, see if he catches the ball and see how he catches the ball. Great balance by a big man. That's a nice play. Concentration and balance. He reaches out, stays on his feet, and that kept Crawford at third base.
Here's Panik now. Panik is 0 for 3.
I'll tell you what, if Sam Dyson gets through this inning, Rich, this will be a take one for the team effort, and a great job in helping to save the bullpen. If he can get through this inning. Career high in pitches already, closing in on 70.
Mike Redmond is hopeful he can do it, because Dyson is due to lead off in the bottom of the 6th, and if you bring Hatcher in before the inning ends, you're
pretty much forced to pinch hit for him.
Yeah, you're going to burn another pitcher. Dyson is there, gets the flip, and Panik has bounced out for the 4th time, and the Giants lead a pair. 5-1 San Francisco. It's 5-1. Bottom 6. Tomorrow's tilt brought to you by Checkers. Tim Lincecum has been on a roll. He's pitched better than his 3.66 ERA of late. Brad Hand with Miami in desperate need of a good start, and that's tomorrow. We start our coverage at 12:30 with a 1 o'clock first pitch.
How about this number on Lincecum? His last 4 starts, Lincecum is 4-0 and has given up just 1 run in over 30 innings.
Tim Hudson facing Donovan Solano, and then top of the order, Yelich, Valdespin, and if anybody reaches Stanton. Miami desperately trying to get a foothold here on a 5-game tumble. It started before the All-Star break, continued last night, and tonight they lose Henderson Alvarez to a line drive. He's listed as day-to-day, took one off the shin, and they find themselves down 5-1.
You lose Alvarez, and you're going to lose, as we mentioned last inning, Sam Dyson for a few days with the number of innings and pitches he threw tonight.
Solano pinch hitting for Dyson. Tim Hudson has been efficient, effective. He gives up a base hit to open up this 6th inning. Solano with a pinch hit single. And that brings Yelich up. He's 2 for 2.
4th pinch hit of the year for Donovan Solano. You know, he manages, the thing that impresses me about Solano, with very sporadic playing time and at bats. He did have a period where he started 7, 8, 9 games in a row. He always seems to give you a quality AB when he goes up there.
Tim Hudson has rolled 3 double play balls in this ball game, and he keeps one away from Yelich. Dyson, Chuck Hernandez.
Well, he appreciates what Dyson did for the bullpen tonight.
Active leaders. Terrific article in Grantland Online on Mark Buehrle and the career he's had, the success he's had, which defy a lot of the numbers and the trends in baseball, how unique he is. We had a chance to see him over just 1 season. We're thoroughly impressed both on and off the field.
He defies a lot of the numbers people because he implements so much of the intangibles in a game when he pitches a game.
At the end of the article, a great point that you and I both made when he pitched here. 1-2. Outside corner, and he's rung up. Hudson caught the corner. And down goes Yelich. And that point was, if you were a scout, and that pitch was on the corner, if you were a scout and you went to scout a 21-year-old Mark Buehrle pitching in an obscure college, how would you sell that to your scouting director?
Yeah, he'd say, well, he works fast, got out of there in time for a nice dinner. His fastball's in the upper 80s.
Fields his position well.
Good fielder. Good fielder.
Good pickoff.
Got a great move.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe in the 15th, 20th round we'll think about it. It would be a hard sell.
Rennie Jazzolari, the one that wrote that article on Grantland.com. Good reading on Mark Buehrle. They're the scouts. Buehrle's only picked off 94 guys in his career. There's the 1-0. Valdespin hits a high pop. Pence racing in, dives and can't get it. It's a foul ball.
By the way, those 94 pickoffs, the 3rd most since World War II. Pence gave it a shot and just kept carrying away from it.
I don't think anyone will ever accuse Hunter Pence of not going all out on anything. He plays at 100 miles an hour all the time.
What'd you say last night? He plays like
his underwear's on fire. His pants are on fire. I think I think he's the one that coined that phrase. Plays like his underpants are on fire.
And we'll have to find out, boxers or briefs.
Stan waits on deck. Valdespin, who joined the ball club today, is 1 for 2.
Valdespin, 94 games with the Mets a couple of years ago, 2012.
Pops it up, Crawford.
A rare out in the air. To this point, Tim Hudson has recorded 11 ground ball outs.
Leaderboard brought to you by Palmetto 57 Nissan and Palmetto 57 Volkswagen. All-time home run leaders. Giancarlo Stanton passed Miguel Cabrera with that 466-foot homer last night.
But he's had his struggles over the years against Tim Hudson, just 3 for 17.
Hudson stays down and in. Stan's home run left the bat at 115 miles an hour last night. True distance was 466. Our friends at HitTrackerOnline.com.
And we talked about it earlier in the telecast. His 6th home run this year, 450 feet or further.
The next closest is a team, the Blue Jays, with 4.
Whole team.
Right.
By the way, 5 of those 6 have been hit here at Marlins Park, too.
Broken bat. And Crawford goes to first to get the out. Tim Hudson has been, well, Tim Hudson tonight. He's been terrific. Marlins Park tonight, and it's been a rough one for the Fish with Tommy Hutton, Craig Minervini, Carl Pavano, Rich Waltz with you. 5-1 in the 7th. The Giants on top. Marlins lost Henderson Alvarez to a line drive in the 3rd. Left shin contusion listed as day-to-day. Sam Dyson pieced it together Into the 7th now. Chris Hatcher arrives. Dyson went 3 1/3. And he gave up 3 runs on 4 hits. Alvarez, 2 runs. Just 1 of them earned in his 2 2/3 innings.
I think one of the unusual numbers from the Giants this year is they always seem to play so well at AT&T, their home ballpark. But this year they're 25 and 18 on the road, and they're 3 games over 500 at home. So Bruce Bochy likes the way they've been playing away from AT&T.
Handicapping the National League West race. Dodgers not only have a star-studded lineup, they have the gross domestic product of Guatemala as their payroll. 260 million, including the foreign signings.
Yeah, and change.
Our Toyota Trend. Miami, Florida State, Florida. 1, 2, 3. Hatcher misses down low. So back to
the handicap.
But the Dodgers just have that vibe that isn't quite right. I mean,
you and I have both had the opportunity to talk to many who've seen both teams.
And the consensus is, at least from what I could glean from scouts, Dodgers have those 4 outfielders. They have great talent, all that, a super rotation. But for some reason, the Giants play better as a team. The sum of their parts is incredible. And they play the Dodgers very, very well.
Yeah, they have that it factor. They have, as you said, more of a team concept.
And so, as you're getting closer to the end of July and the trading deadline coming up, Brian Sabean is a general manager who always seems to be able to help his ball club, whether it's an off-season signing or a late-season trade or picking Cody Ross off
and becoming a World Series hero.
Right? Hunter Pence was a guy that he went and got as well. His offseason acquisition of Michael Morse. Tim Hudson has worked out well.
It's an interesting, I think, dilemma for a lot of the teams. And I say a lot because there are many more teams now thinking postseason with the extra wild card, with the wild card, where in years past it wasn't quite that way and there were more players available.
The pool of talent that's out there is pretty slim because a lot of teams hold hopes of getting to that wild card game. Hatcher steps on the bag. Watch party on Monday the 21st. Duffy's Sports Grill, Coconut Grove. Arlington Braves at 7:10. Billy and the Energy team will be there. They will be taking advantage of great food and drink specials. Hope you will as well at Duffy's Sports Grill in the Grove. For more information, go to marlins.com.
But Rich, as Brian Sabean told us before the game, and I'm sure a lot of general managers are thinking this way too, you don't want to sell the farm. You get rid of some key prospects and maybe play just one game in a playoff game as the extra wild card team. So you have to be real careful as to what you do.
You know, I would buy that for a San Francisco Giant team that's won 2 world championships.
But a team that hasn't been there.
If you're the Kansas City Royals,
I got you.
And you're this close.
Yeah, go ahead. Go for it.
Yeah. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree on that. Here's Seattle.
Yeah, absolutely. Seattle. Jack Sorensic right now is kicking it. I mean, the rumors in Seattle when I was up there this last week were hey, David Price and Ben Zobrist, and let's get it done.
They get it done. How about some of the subtle moves the Angels have made to help their bullpen? Ernesto Frieri traded away for Jason Grilli, and they just acquired yesterday Houston Street for 4 minor leaguers.
Chris Hatcher with a nice clean 1-2-3 inning in the 7th. First one since the first for the Fish on a 5-1 Giants lead. The superior performing tires that knock it out of the park. Goodyear, more driven. (5-1) Giants on top, bottom of the 7th. This would be the fan photo time. Hashtag your photo, FL fan photo. And if that's A.J. Ramos, you got to know he's in the fan photo with Susan Langston. Good work, Susan. Welcome to the show. Congratulations on the fan photo. Casey McGee swings and fouls it off.
We could see A.J. Ramos in this game tonight.
Well, the Giants have been getting a terrific night from Tim Hudson, whose pitch count is a very manageable 65. McGee an RBI single, and he's flied out. Up the middle, Crawford has it. And Hudson with another ground ball out.
Well, that's number 13 tonight so far. Boy, look at how efficient Hudson has been. 66 pitches.
His last complete game was back in 2012 when he was going 16-7 with the Braves.
Rich, Sam Dyson threw 70 pitches, a career high, in his 3 1/3 innings. Certainly those double plays, first 3 innings, helped out.
On a night like this, you want to get to the bullpen. You want to get the starter out of there. But Hudson's been so efficient, you just don't see that happening. Unless you put some runs on the board and get him in trouble.
And really the only inning Hudson was in trouble was the first inning, when the Marlins were able to get 3 hits against him. They did get a run, but the big double play helped him out. He could actually win comeback player of the year twice if he has a solid season this year with that awful ankle injury you were talking about earlier.
To right field, Pence won't get it, and it goes to the wall, and Ozuna is going to get a 3-bagger here. Third triple of the season for Ozuna. And a big crowd finally has something to cheer about. 25,000 here tonight.
Over the last 50 games, almost 50 games now for Ozuna, he's hit about 295. He got up to a little bit of a slow start, but last 50 games very consistent. He'll have a few games where he swings at some pitches out of the zone, but good to see that stroke there, hitting that ball so well and so hard, just out of the reach of Pence.
Now Saltalamacchia was 1 for 2.
My point on the comeback player of the year in 2010, Tim Hudson won the award, coming back from Tommy John surgery.
It's always an interesting award because you have to have come back from someplace.
Yeah, I think number one, an injury is very important to have come back from.
Adversity.
And I think if you have a track record, I think sometimes if you had a couple of years that have been okay or poor years, I think you have to have a track record to come back from.
Here's the 0-1. Can you come back from just having a really bad year?
I mean, you and I have had opportunities to try to win comeback broadcaster.
Casey McGee's a guy that obviously came back from Japan,
but I think if you throw in his last year here, in the United States,
his last 2 years,
he's got to be a candidate
without a doubt, because he came back from bad years and from Japan, and he had a terrific year, of course, in Japan, and that's translated to a very nice year here with the Marlins. So Saltalamacchia sitting on a 2-1 pitch. Marlins trying to chip away here. They have not had many opportunities at all against Tim Hudson.
I think you and I have had to come back, let's say, from more adversity than the, let's say, the Giants broadcasters.
Without a doubt. I mean, Dwayne Kuiper and John Miller have been living in tall cotton for a while, right?
Sellout crowds, AT&T, a couple of World Series over the last few years.
So I think we qualify then.
Yeah. Who votes on that?
Oh, the dirt. And it's 3-2. I'm not sure. Ozuna 90 feet away. Marlins down 4. Hudson 3-2 on Saltalamacchia. He strikes him out with a high fastball. Down goes Saltalamacchia. Ozuna left at third. 5-1.
Marlins are trailing the Giants 5-1 here at the top of the 8th. I want to talk to you about this amazing ticket offer we have because the phone lines are literally en fuego for this. It is the box office buyout, okay? At this point, if you're trying to get in and get tickets, I really recommend using the website for this one on your tablet, your iPad, whatever you've got, because the way this works is brilliant. You call in and you order tickets tonight during this game for either the upcoming games on August 1st against the Reds or August 15th against the Diamondbacks, and Fox Sports Florida will buy another ticket for you. For every ticket you buy, we're going to buy another one and give it to you. So if you buy one, we give you one. You buy 10, we give you 10. There's no limit on how many tickets you can buy, but there is a limit on how many tickets Fox Sports Florida has bought. Okay, so if you want to make sure that you can get great seats for those games, you need to get in there right now. And I know there's some great seats still available, but who knows what's going to happen between now and the end of the game. All right, so take advantage of this offer. Don't let it slip by. Back to you, Rich.
Lou, all right, if you were to call in right now and order tickets, where would you sit in this ballpark?
Where would I? You know what? They're all good seats. It doesn't matter. I've been literally everywhere in this park tonight, and every single seat has been fantastic.
Have you been out to the Budweiser bar in left field, or have you sampled the taste of Miami? Have you had anything to eat here at the ballpark?
No, I haven't had anything to eat here, but my crew has, and I can tell you, they are just gorging themselves. They're loving it.
All right, well, we'll keep our fingers crossed. Good luck with it.
All right.
I can see on social media, on Twitter, some fans are calling the numbers.
Oh, fantastic. That's great.
So we'll see you on the postgame show.
All right, Rich. Thanks.
Lou's working. He doesn't have time to stop and eat.
Well, he's got the nice tie and coat. He doesn't want to get Cuban sandwich on that outfit. Dan Jennings. Tyler Colvin fouls it back. Colvin entered the ball game when Brandon Belt left. After Belt scampered home on the pass ball, and then subsequent throwing error by Jared Saltalamacchia back in the second.
Well, so far it's been 2 nights in a row for Chris Hatcher and for Dan Jennings. Each worked in the game last night.
Colvin, a former Cub. Yelich makes the catch. First out, 8th inning. Never too late to download the MLB.com at the ballpark mobile app. Great features throughout the year. Check in through the app, earn free tickets. Download the free MLB.com at the ballpark app today. Here's Crawford. Henderson Alvarez, 2 2/3. Hit by a line drive, out of the game. Listed as day-to-day shin contusion, though he was in a tremendous amount of pain leaving the ball game. And since then, it's been a bullpen game for the Marlins. The Giants have been in control since then. Sam Dyson, 3 1/3, 3 runs. Chris Hatcher, scoreless 7th. Jennings here in the 8th. Other side of the coin, San Francisco's bullpen has merely yawned because they've been watching Tim Hudson 76 pitches through 7 innings. Crawford walks. And that'll bring up Gregor Blanco.
Yeah, the San Francisco bullpen, they've been able to enjoy the sights and sounds of the Clevelander tonight.
Blanco now takes away. Lots of games done already. The Yankees beat the Reds 7-1. In that Yankee win, Randy McCarthy getting his, I believe that's his first win as a Yankee.
It's his first. It was his first start at Yankee Stadium.
Alfredo Simon, who was such a lively fan at the home run hitting contest, got the loss. He lasted just 5 innings. So the Yankees beat the Reds. Blue Jays beat Texas 4-1. Blue Jays 2 over at 50-48. Tigers went down. Indians beat them in Detroit 6-2.
That was the first of a split doubleheader.
Adam Jones hit a 3-run homer in the first in what is an entertaining series in Oakland. Baltimore 4-0 in the bottom of the first over the Athletics.
How about the Athletics win last night? 9th inning, 2 outs, a 3-run walk-off home run. Josh Donaldson. They were going crazy at the Coliseum. Ken Korak was going crazy with the call.
And when he goes crazy, it's worth listening to. It's been a great run in the Bay Area for baseball fans. Of course, the Giants finally getting a couple world championships. Bruce Bochy bringing it to them. Something that no other manager can say as a Giant, right? Not Roger Craig, not Dusty Baker,
not Charlie Fox.
McGee can't get it, and it rolls into left field. And the Giants are set up at the corners with 1 out. Gregor Blanco prolonged at bat with a base hit. AT&T Uverse Rewind. This is what the Marlins are in for with Tim Lincecum tomorrow. Marlins beat him, but he punched out 6.
He struck out 6. He gave up 3 runs, but he was outpitched by Tom Kohler in that game.
Cardinals beat the Dodgers 4-2. Joe Kelly back in the rotation.
Good news for Cardinal fans.
Here's Hudson, and he comes up. Now, if you're the Giants and you think Hudson is a good bunter, this might not be a bad time to see him put one down. Middle infield looking for a double play. And it's not necessarily a squeeze spot, but it's that 1st and 3rd and 1 out bunt play that many teams use and use quite effectively.
Hudson dropped down a nice sac bunt in the 6th inning. This is where Dan Jennings gets in trouble. He has good stuff. He's always pitching from behind. Fell behind 2-0. He's fallen behind 2-0 to the pitcher.
Hudson has a rip at 2-0. Walk to Crawford. A single by Blanco. Up the middle, looks like 2. It is 2. Nicely done by Jennings. And Chavarria raced over to get it. And the Giants are done in the 8th. Marlins still down, though, 5-1. Baseball on Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by Palmetto 57 Nissan and Palmetto 57 Volkswagen, home of your money-back guarantee. In Miami tonight, the Giants a 5-1 lead, and the Marlins have run into an old adversary who has a sterling mark against them in this ballpark and in his career, and that is Tim Hudson.
Well, we brought up all these numbers early on in his 25 previous starts against the Marlins. Tim Hudson 14-4 with an ERA under 3. And in his 3 starts here at Marlins Park, 3-0. So he's on his way to go 4-0 in this ballpark and 15-4 in his career against the Marlins.
It's the first sign of life from the Giants bullpen. Jeremy Affeldt, who just happens to be on a great run right now. Hit hard at Paddock, and Chavarria is out. We check in with Craig Minervini. Craig?
Rich, thank you very much. Getting set here in the center field set for our post-game show coming up in just a bit. Hey, I want to tell you about Giancarlo Stanton. We had him see him today getting yet another haircut from the super barber of the Marlins, Hugo. And Hugo was also at the All-Star game. Take a look at the picture. This is from the All-Star game where Hugo also did Rodney's hair, and a bunch of agents, other players came in. And look at that logo kind of he put in. He said it was just abstract, but the more I looked at it, it looks to me like a baseball diamond. I don't know if we can get another look at it, but I talked to Giancarlo today. See that? I talked to Hugo. They both insist it is not a baseball diamond. So in other words,
I see the warning track.
Right? You see a warning track. You see where the derby ball could have landed, somewhere on the top of his head. But a good look for Giancarlo anyway. See that?
Hugo, the all-star barber.
Yeah, I used to do that with my potatoes as a kid. You know, mashed potatoes. You ever do that?
No.
Good luck for Giancarlo.
Into center field, a base hit. Jeff Baker has himself a pinch hit. Marlins have 2 pinch hits out of the 9 spot. Donovan Solano and Jeff Baker.
Yeah, for Jeff Baker, that's pinch hit number 9. So he's 9 for 25 coming off the bench. And remember, he didn't start out that way. So he's put together a lot of real good at-bats lately.
Well, if you're the Marlins right now, you just want base runs. You want Giancarlo Stanton up with runners on. Bruce Bochy is on his way out. He's got Affeldt ready. 80 pitches. That's it for Hudson.
This is why I think it's tougher to hit nowadays than years ago, because now Christian Yelich is going to have to face a tough left-hander. As it appears, Bochy hasn't made the move quite yet, I don't think.
He's looking into the dugout just to see if Affeld's ready.
And he's made the call. So now Christian Yelich is going to have to face tough left-hander.
Wes Kendall Toyota called to the bullpen. I don't think Hudson's all that happy. Brought to you by Gulfstream Park.
Believe it or not, the Marlins actually led in this ball game. A base hit by Casey McGee. 1-0 was the score. Yelich came in to score, but in the second inning, Brandon Belt belted one down that right field line. That tied the game. And then here was that ugly play, pass ball, errant throw, and Belt came in to score. He would leave the game, though, Brandon Belt. In the fourth inning, bases were loaded, pitching to Tim Hudson, the pitcher. He walks, gets the RBI, and then Hunter Pence with a big hit slaps one into right field. He picks up 2 RBI. So that's what the Giants have done. And the Marlins just haven't been able to put together much scoring.
And the reason it went from Henderson Alvarez to Sam Dyson is that Alvarez was hit in the leg by a line drive off the bat of Joe Panik and had to come out of the game. That was in the third inning. He's listed as day-to-day with a shin contusion. Affelt now, and you've got a couple things working here. You've got Yelich getting the at-bat. No question about that. He's good against lefties. But then Valdespin, a left-handed hitter, is on deck. Giancarlo Stanton follows, and because of that, the Giants have an arm up in their bullpen, a righty, and a familiar righty, a guy that's lost his closer job.
They say the slider is starting to come back for Sergio Romo.
Yelich fouls it off. Yelich 2 for 3, a pair of hits. His average sits at 277.
How about the career Jeremy Affeldt has had? He's in his 13th Major League season. 6th year with the Giants, and he's just been a stalwart out of that bullpen. Big curveball. He's not a slider. He's not a fastball slider guy. His is more of a curve, but he has that really across the body, tough to pick up delivery.
There is Romo. Yelich, who always gives you a good at bat. And it seems like even more so against lefties as the count at 3-2.
And here he is in a 3-2 situation.
Liner, Crawford. And Yelich hit it right on the button. Can't do much more than that, can you?
Not off a tough lefty like Affeldt. Hung in there, good AB, hit the ball hard.
So Valdespin will hit against Affeldt. Hudson's night is not done yet. He's responsible for Baker, who's at first base. Valdespin bailed out, and that pitch broke right across the plate.
He's thrown that big curveball to a lot of lefties over the years.
And then comes back with a fastball for a strike. And Valdespin doesn't know what to think right now.
Now you're in defense mode.
Breaking ball, kicks away. Baker advances to second.
Well, Posey turns the glove over. Didn't really shift down to block it. It'd be a wild pitch.
Let's see if Valdespin sees that big hook again. Fastball in on his hands, pops it up, third base side. Posey makes a tumbling catch. And the inning is over. Nice play by Buster Posey. And the Marlins leave that runner out in scoring position. Top of the Marlins in Miami. Ninth inning has arrived. Marlins Live will arrive. It's brought to you by Checkers. Craig Minervini, Carl Pavano. Bodacious Bucks Fish. And the entertainer exits early. Let's explain both. First, the entertainer exiting early. Henderson Alvarez hit by a line drive in the leg. And Alvarez with a contusion on the shin left the ball game. He's listed as day-to-day. AJ Ramos is in. Bodacious Bucks Fish. Freddie Gonzalez was on Bobby Cox's coaching staff. He used to watch a lot of the History Channel when he was on the road. And Freddie, a former catcher, saw a piece on Bodacious, who was the toughest bull in the world to ride. And any catcher that would catch and get a win for Tim Hudson, that's when Hudson was really nasty and had the velocity and had that heavy sinker. Freddie would get him a t-shirt that said something along the lines of I rode Bodacious for 9 innings. Hunter Pence in the left. Yelich is there, makes the catch. So that's the play on words of Bodacious, because he certainly bucked the Marlins here tonight. 7 1/3, 8 hits, a run, no walks, 3 strikeouts. Tommy was tracking ground ball outs.
Yeah, at last check for Tim Hudson, we had 13 ground ball outs. And good to see AJ Ramos back on the hill. Just off the disabled list. But again, with no long man in the bullpen, with Dyson and his pitches and innings tonight, he'll be gone for 2 or 3 days. Hatcher and Jennings have each worked back-to-back nights. And you're not going to put a whole lot on AJ Ramos, who's just come off the disabled list.
You got Brad Hand starting tomorrow.
And you have Brad Hand starting tomorrow, who was in the bullpen as a long man.
And the Marlins, who had hoped after the 2 gut punch losses in the last 4 games of the first half, the loss at the end of the Arizona series and that loss in the middle of the Mets series, had hoped that the All-Star break would give them a chance to regroup and dust themselves off and get back on their feet. They were smoked by the Giants last night, and they're down 5-1 here in the 9th tonight.
I would not be surprised if the Marlins made a move before the game tomorrow to get some help in the bullpen.
We saw Archimedes Caminero was the pitcher of the week in the Coast League out of the bullpen for the Zephyrs.
So Ramos throwing the ball well.
There's a lot of concern right now. Number one, the health of Henderson Alvarez. Shin contusion day to day. You don't know whether that's day to day to day to day all the way into his start day.
Well, his next start would be Thursday against Aaron Harang in Atlanta.
Then you've got Hand and Turner, who are trying to prove themselves in the rotation. And as you noted, the Marlins go from one division leader, the Giants, into Atlanta to see the Braves.
Well, and I hate to pour more bad news on you, but we're talking about all the pitching woes. In the meantime, the Marlins scored 1 run last night, and they've scored just 1 run tonight.
I would rather you do like the old rock anthem, pour some sugar on it. No. Not bad news. Is that Def Leppard? Who was that? Come on, help me out, Crackstaff.
Crackstaff faded out into the distance, I think.
I think it was Def Leppard. 2-2. Jam shot. Echeverria throws out Posey. Marlins down to the last swings and down 5-1. Baseball, Fox Sports Florida, brought to you by South Florida Honda Dealers and sfhondadealers.com. By UHealth Sports Medicine, official sports medicine provider for the Miami Hurricanes and Marlins. Get you back in the game. And by Florida Power and Light. Our coverage tonight from the Goodyear Blimp, brought to you by Goodyear, superior performing tires that knock it out of the park. Goodyear, more driven. Joaquin Arias is at third base. Takes over for Pablo Sandoval. And the sliders of death. Sergio Romo. Here at Marlins Park, Giants, Marlins, and in the house, Ray Curtis. Actually, that's the character that he played. Benjamin Bratt, Law and Order. A lot of different movies. He grew up in San Francisco, went to high school in San Francisco. Giancarlo, we have liftoff. Second homer in as many nights for Stanton. And look at the guy that caught it. He's got his all-star jersey. His all-star batting practice jersey.
That's awesome. Well, back-to-back nights, and you just get the feeling that Giancarlo is starting to settle into another nice run. The problem is he needs help from others offensively.
'23rd on the season. Here's McGee. And McGee hits one in the air to right. Hunter Pence is there. Just a straight fastball, no slider on that one.
Well, his slider hasn't been up to par. I don't want to say it's died, the slider of death, but he went with fastball at first pitch and right into the seats. Yeah, Benjamin, I know you're a Giants fan, but you don't get to see him hit that hard very often.
Well, Romo was the closer, lost his closing job. Santiago Casilla is the current closer, and he's up now. Miami down 3, 1 out, and Romo misses outside. And after Jones, you've got Ozuna, Saltalamacchia.
That fastball, by the way, of Romo that was hit by Stanton, just 87 miles an hour. He never has, even in his superior closing days, never had an overpowering fastball. It was that slider that was his biggest weapon, his out pitch. Just a little over 37 home runs. That's the 37 innings. That's the 8th home run he's allowed.
Jones smokes one just foul. 2-2. Marlins Live before the ball game. Carl Pavano talked about Stanton and the home run hitting contest and how Stanton felt that he didn't really adjust his swing, didn't get the uppercut, just used that line drive swing, and that maybe the home run derby would help him, and it seems to have really helped him.
Yeah, I didn't think that Stanton would be one of those players that the home run derby would affect. And in his case, he actually feels that it's going to help him. And so far, the results are pretty good. Home runs in each of the first 2 games back.
To Romo and on to Morse, and the Giants just need an out. Now Ozuna. Tripled in 3 at-bats. There's that slider. Romo, who was a closer in waiting, the apprentice under Brian Wilson, and then took over and was so good.
Yeah, they were a terrific 8th, 9th inning tandem. A la Mariano Rivera, John Wetland. Maybe not quite to that degree.
Or Francisco Rodriguez and Troy Percival with the Angels in their World Championship year. I know that's a ways back. Ozuna got into that one. Center field. Blanco won't get it. Bangs off the wall. That's a double for Ozuna. Boy, does the ball jump off his bat.
Well, once again, Romo went with his fastball, and tell you what, Bruce Bochy's seen enough. He's going to go to his closer because the tying run will be in the on-deck circle. That'll make it a safe situation, so he's going to go with Casilla.
So Casilla comes in. West Kendall Toyota called to the bullpen. Giancarlo Stanton has homered here in the ninth. With 2 outs, Marcell Ozuna has doubled. Santiago Casilla.
Well, a lot different stuff. I mean, his fastball's livelier. He can get it 90, 94, 95. Sliders much sharper at this point. Opposing batters, look at that, hitting just 157 of Santiago Casilla.
He's got some incredible numbers right now. He hasn't allowed a run in his last 12 appearances. Just 2 base runners in that span, and he ties Saltalamacchia up with a fastball. Oh and 1. Big shift for Saltalamacchia. And a big fastball that pops out of Posey's glove. Ozuna gets to third. And it's 1 and 1.
Wild pitch.
Pitches away for Saltalamacchia. One of the struggles at times this year has been the strikeout. 85 strikeouts. This is his 67th game, and count 2 and 2.
Had a good rip there at that 95-mile-an-hour fastball.
To his credit, he has walked 34 times. His on-base percentage is over 100 points higher than his batting average. 2-2. Breaking ball missed out. Casilla wanted it. You got Echeverria on deck. And he represents the tying run. Salty has run the count full, 3 and 2. Casilla in for the save. Marlins trying to keep this inning alive. .95-mile-an-hour fastball. And they count 3-2. See the shift. Arias is out at the shortstop spot. Crawford, the shortstop, over on the first base side of second. And Panic is way out in shallow right. Got a piece. Posey didn't hold it.
Yeah, the outfield's pretty much straight away. But the big shift on the infield. The outfielders are straight up.
Ozuna, a 2-out double. Stanton led off the inning with a home run to left, his 23rd of the season. On a night where Tim Hudson was dominant. Drive into center field, that's a base hit, and Miami is still alive. Nice hit back by Saltalamacchia.
That's that kind of swing you'd love to see just a little bit more of from Salty. Stayed on that ball really well and drove it hard into left center. Good AB. Inning continues.
Now Echeverria with Reed Johnson on deck. Giants will not hold Saltalamacchia. Morse plays behind him. And Echeverria pops it up first base side. Morse watches it into the seats. Cishek just starting to get loose. Miami down 2, down to their last out. Echeverria, right field. Pence is there, and he makes the catch. And the Giants have won the first 2 of this 3-game set. 5-3, the final, despite a Giancarlo Stanton home